Hi, you're with India Post Live, India's first online news conversation web TV. I'm Ishan Russell, and India Post Live is a forum for, of course, you to participate in. So use social media to get in touch with us. On Twitter, you can use hashtag India Post Live to your tweets, or you can use our Twitter handle. That's at India Post Live. We have a Facebook page called India Post Live. Go ahead, like it, comment over there, post a picture or any other thing that you want to. You can also go to indiapostlive.com. That's the name of the website where you can watch this live right now. Or in case you're watching this later, there are other videos for you to check out as well. So go ahead, check them out, comment over there, and in case you want to participate, send us a request and we'll ensure you participate via Skype or Google Hangout. So go ahead and participate. We'll of course air your views. You can ask the experts questions or you can be the expert yourself. So come and participate. All right, the topic that we've chosen today is a comic book character that is very dear to many, and that poor comic book character is going to be dying. We're talking about Archie Andrews, and why is he dying? Well, we put a little bit of a story together, so take a look at that first.
July 16th. Riverdale's iconic red-haired comic book character, who we have loved for over 70 years, will sacrifice himself heroically while saving the life of a gay friend. Yes, you heard that right. We knew in April that Archie would die. But he won't just die. He'll take a bullet to protect his good friend, gay Senator Kevin Keller, who, by the way, raises the issue of gun control. Life with Archie, the flash-forward series which spotlights Archie's adventures after high school and college, will conclude with his death. The August issue will feature how his friends have honored his memory. Archie Comics publisher and co-CEO John Goldwater said Archie dying for Keller instead of Betty or Veronica was something that would resonate with the world. So have comic books begun to mature and raise pertinent social issues that make a point to readers?
All right, so is it a publicity gimmick or is it a larger cause that the comic is trying to address? To talk about that, we have with us Neha Sinha. She's a social commentator and independent journalist. Thanks very much for coming in, Neha. Also, Jairaj Singh is here with us. He's the editor of Time Out Delhi. Thanks very much for coming in, Jairaj. We are also joined by Kritika and Manal on Hangout. So thanks very much, guys, for coming in. But Neha, I'll start with you. I mean, Archie's, a social cause. I never thought of. Always thought of it as a fun kind of a comic. So where does the cause come in now suddenly?
I think the characters have all grown up now and they're part of the social and real world. So Jughead Jones has financial problems. Betty and Veronica, I'm not too sure. They're not very, they don't seem to be very taking on any causes, so to speak. But I think the issue of gun control and the issue of gay rights, I think that's a really good one to come into the social universe, because Archie has always been so heterosexual. And the fact that these two women always dying for his attention was a bit of a dated idea, because if it was set in today's time and age, then I'm sure he would have an extramarital affair or something of that sort. So I think, I'm not sure about gun control, but gay rights, I think that's a good one. I think that's a good one.
Jairaj, your take on this?
It's funny because, like you said, Archie Comics was always about, burgers and Jughead. And I used to think that the gay guy would be Jughead. Actually, no, because, there is a spin-off on YouTube on Archie Comics where they did a fake film on it, fake film trailer, where they show that Jughead is actually revealing to Archie that, he's been always in love with him. But, it's funny because I guess the environment has diabolically changed in recent times. It's become, and I feel that, here Archie Comics, Archie is taking bullets for two causes. It's not just homosexuality, but also, arms control, which are both very pressing concerns for the present day American society. So it is interesting. At the same time, I would say that this is kind of like a Sasbo thing, because Archie will come back, but in different avatars.
So this is not the end of Archie.
This is not the end of Archie Comics as we know it. This is just a particular series which is going to come to an end.
All right, let's get a few viewer comments. Kritika, what would you have to say about Archie's death?
I have a question actually.
Go ahead.
That we saw the death of Superman in 1992. Then this was Captain America in 2000. So the company generated a lot of revenue from it. Yeah. And so is it a publicity stunt for boosting the sales?
Yeah. So I think as Jairaj said, it's like a Saas Bahu serial. It's like it's a
In the
resurgence.
soap opera, yeah.
It's almost like Sherlock, you know, for Arthur Conan Doyle. That Sherlock was killed, but he came back. It's a way. It's
But that
a
was on
great
popular
way.
demand. That was on
Yes.
popular. That was
Yes.
on popular
But
demand.
this is sort of like a strategy, I think, to get people to read Archie's again. I mean, I'm not sure when was the last time we actually enjoyed reading Archie comics.
That is a point in point
Yeah.
because I don't remember reading Archie comics for at least a decade now,
Yeah.
and
Because they're not fun anymore.
Yeah, and also because we've seen that.
Why are they not fun? Why are they not fun anymore? Have the jokes changed, or has your sense of humor become slightly more evolved?
I'd hope my sense of humor has evolved over the past 10 years, but the jokes aren't funny. That's what I think. What do you think?
I don't know. It's not just about funny. It's because they Archie comics are always about a certain social tension within
Yes.
this whole
Yes.
school, which
Yes.
I think which ran out. It ran its course, and you knew that so Reggie was a jock. Moose was this boulder-headed guy. So I think figured out pretty much all the paradigms within the social construct, and I think that it's something similar to what I would refer to as Friends, which was a popular sort of a sitcom, which also tried every possible angle. Everybody dated everybody. It's something similar. So I don't know.
All right, interesting. Manal's also here with us. Manal, what would you have to say about the Archie comic and the fact that Archie is going to be taking a bullet for a gay friend?
Yeah, I mean, it was surprising for me, the fact that, Archie is dying. But don't you think it's like pushing it a little bit when you just combine two causes? I mean, there's obviously the LGBT angle, and there's also the gun control angle. I mean, it's a little bit, too much that they're doing. I mean, push up the agendas, I think. I don't know, but I feel that way.
Is it too much?
Well, I feel that it certainly draws attention to these two aspects, and that is important. I mean, so you can say that it's one way to generate revenues, but another way to actually address these two issues that, it has all of us here talking about it. And, this is, in a larger sense, we're looking at a very popular comic book, which sort of we've all had our memories with. We all remember when we read it, where we read it, the emotions that we ran through. For me, it was just to see that huge smooch sign on that, on a single frame. It showed something that, as a 13-year-old in me was like, whoa, these
So
people are
kissing.
people are kissing. So, it was clever. And so I felt that here, Archie Comics has played safe for far too long, though they've, tried different things, they've pushed boundaries, but so what, I mean, Archie is this always proverbially confused hero and good-looking guy, I don't know if he's good-looking, but, he seems to have attention of two very beautiful women, and, so I think that it's good, as Neha said, that, he does it for not the proverbial heroine, but, for a friend who happens to be gay, and that too, so do you think it's clamored a bit too much?
Well, I would
Do you?
really like to see the girls become the martyr, because Betty has been the martyr throughout the series.
Yeah,
true.
And I would like her to assume like a sense of greater control, and Archie ends up being the hero again. And to me, the hero of the comic was always Betty, because I mean, she's a bit boring.
She's a tragic hero. I
She's
think.
a tragic heroine, exactly. She's got that quality of the long-suffering Bollywood heroine, I think.
Yes.
So even Veronica, I mean, it would be interesting to see them kind of become the heroes, I think, rather than Archie Andrews dying, because Archie, everyone loves him anyway. It wouldn't take away if Archie did not take the bullet. It would
Or
not
maybe,
take away
or
from
maybe Reggie turning
heroism.
a leaf and becoming good. But Jairaj, you were mentioning about other characters. I mean, there are a host of other characters who
Yes.
keep popping in, and there are other little comic strips like Cheryl Blossom is there.
Yes.
And the issue of a cause has come in even to those
Yes.
parallel comics.
Right. So I think in one of the series, part of Life with Archie's, there was Cheryl Blossom who. A friend of Archie's, I think he had a love interest, and she developed, this the issue of breast cancer, which is broached. Jughead, who has a vast appetite. There were issues with him having financial trouble. So I think what they've done with this particular series is that they've really tried to touch upon every social aspect. And this is also, I think, Archie's in, older, mature Archie is no
Yes.
longer in confines of Riverdale High School. So I feel that I think it was a good venture for them to sort of branch out and explore this. Though I remember that they kept doing a lot of similar stuff. There's Archie mysteries and stuff
Yes.
which we've seen over time. So I don't know.
So I guess they've all grown up now. And like I'm saying, I would still like to see Betty and Veronica do more interesting things.
I think that's.
But tell me one thing: does it take away from the fact that it was an easy escape? I mean, as a 13-year-old, as a 14-year-old, you would envision a life in America. I mean, cable TV had just started at that point in time
Yes.
for our
Yes.
generation,
Yes.
and so but that was the construct that we were given, and a lot of people started copying that, imitating that in life over here. I mean, the kind of eating joints that we have, places are named Jugheads and things like that.
Yes.
In fact, Kuch Kuch Hota Hai apparently is Archie Andrews' story. I mean, I don't know, I'm not an expert in Bollywood movies, but the tomboy that transforms into the Veronica, that was Kajol's, was it not? I think it had a great impact on us, and the simplicity, actually, the fact that there are these two beautiful women, as he puts it, vying for his attention doesn't take away from the domesticity of it. It's not wild in any way. They don't broach issues of
You become both.
sexuality. they don't broach issues of.
I think they should have broached the issue of multiple partners at some point in time.
Like I'm saying, if it was set in today's time, there would be an extramarital affair and there would be like a True Lies or a sort of, like a Pretty Little Liars kind of sort of
I
scenario.
agree. I think that Archie's, of what we know of Archie's, was a very safe.
Very safe.
Very safe. They, Riverdale High School,
But then people get used to the
Yes,
playing that safe. And
yes.
does it take away from a fan base? Does it add more fans? What do you think? I mean, is it would it work? Would it not work? Would people say that, all right, with Archie's, if Archie's dying, then
I think it reminds me of the Nancy Drew series, because Nancy Drew and Hardy Boys were both written by a whole conglomerate of people, and
there was
when
no
we
Franklin W. Dixon.
exactly right, there was no
He's
Carolyn
heartbreak for me.
Keene.
I thought he was a brilliant writer. Writing all the time.
Or
I
prolific
thought,
writer.
I thought Carolyn Keene was a person as well, but clearly not. But as Nancy Drew grows up, there's Nancy Drew Files, right? Nancy Drew Files is slightly more adult content. So I think it's the same thing for Archie's. Archie's is not going anywhere. So the real guy, the safe guy that we know, who goes to school every day and has to wonder about his financial issues and the jalopy that he drives,
Right.
is still very much alive. He's only going to die in this other life that he has in Life with Archie's.
I think at
So
this,
it's parallel tracks, I think.
but what's interesting is that we've seen throughout the years a very distinct shift in comic books.
Yeah.
We've seen the alter ego develop of
Yes.
all our favorite, superheroes, all our favorite comic book characters, and more so now because Hollywood has taken it to another whole new level. We've seen it with Dark Knight, with Batman, with Superman, more recently. So I think that there is that quintessential question of trying to look into more than what appears.
Yes.
Is it a question of just that small story of Archie and bumbling up again, or is it more about the questions that are posed to him, the things happening around him? Because we must realize that Archie started in 1940s, and today we're in 2014, and everything has changed since then. I believe that there are cell phones now in Archie comics. They can't escape that. So I feel it's.
But he still hasn't upgraded his jalopy. Let's get in a few viewer voices. Kritika, would you have to say anything on what we've been saying? Do you would like to add to it?
Though Archie's had been the longest running publication we've had, and they've been highlighting social causes, and they've been bringing up new characters. So what do you think has been the major reason for the drop of interest in people? As you said that you have not enjoyed reading Archie's for a decade along.
Yeah.
I think it's a generation thing.
Yeah.
We
We're
grew
not
up with
13.
Archie's.
We're not 13 anymore.
This was the early 90s.
Yes.
Cable TV had just come in. We were looking for some respite from the Tinkle comics and the Nagraj and the Chacha Chaudhary, Amar Chitra Kathas. And so, I feel that, decline of readership was a natural cause, natural progression of how things have moved. Today, I don't know, I know that there are diehard fans of Friends, but would a newer generation be fans of Friends as the way we watched Friends? I'm not sure, because, there was a time and place for it, and
And a context and a social context.
and social
in terms
context, yeah. Because then you can wonder that is life all about just sitting at Central Park, Central
Central
Perk,
Perk, yes.
and talking about various things when New Yorkers have such very busy lives. So you've seen shows like Suits now, which is just show the opposite end of
opposite.
spectrum. So I think that it's a generational thing. I don't know, and I feel that.
But then Archie's like survived generations. I mean, it's
Well,
70 years.
I think people still read Archies. It's just that we don't read Archies.
I don't
maybe.
know where I read, but I believe that I'm told that India was the largest reader of Archie comics. Is
India
that
was
true?
a very big reader, and I think Riverdale is a very small town, and I think there are a lot of people in small towns who used to read Archies because there's a certain sense of comfort, as you put it, there's a certain sense of familiarity, and I think if Riverdale starts becoming more dangerous, it would maybe have more readers because it becomes more. The issue
Real.
of gun control, for instance, I guess they're trying to say that a guy like that who's supporting gun control, who's opposing gun control, should be safe in a place like Riverdale because Riverdale is very safe. I mean, never have we seen any sort of crime in Riverdale. So in a sense, I think maybe the lack of readership is because you can't make that connect. So I think it needs to be safe, but also like a little bit more emblematic of real life. The teenage Archie as well should be taking on all these issues that are part of small town reality now.
All right, Manal, what about you? You've been patiently listening into our conversation. So, what's your take as far as Archie is concerned and what we've been saying?
You know what? There's something very interesting that I came across. That there's a afterlife of Archie, another
Oh
comic
my
series, which talk about zombie apocalypse and how
Oh wow!
will we see Archie there? What do you think?
I am not a zombie person. I don't like them infected. I don't like them slow moving. I don't like zombies.
Well, I've become recently a big fan of zombies.
Yeah.
Walking Dead is a very popular comic book series. However, it would be interesting to know whether if Archie returns as a zombie, then I'm sure Reggie would certainly like to kill him.
I can't imagine
it's-
Archie being evil.
Well, zombies aren't evil.
Zombies
just,
zombies.
That's
It
one
is
stream
there.
of thought. They're only maniacal killers, but that doesn't make them evil.
They're just hungry.
Yeah, I mean, it's like an animal. I mean, you've taken the soul out
Have you
of it.
reduced Archie to an animal or afterlife spirit?
No,
that
but
we
the
should
whole
find
point
out.
is just the imagination of the writers is being forced to go in so many directions.
Yes.
Is it the necessity of a market that we see? I mean, you mentioned the point of every comic book trying to reinvent themselves, going into the depth of the character, going to the motivations of why a Superman, how he became Superman, the moral conundrums that he would
Right.
have. So, is it the same thing with Archie? And do we see this happening with a lot more comic books and a lot more characters who've like survived generations?
I certainly think so. I think these are times when we're not going to look at, sadly enough that Neha's right that Archie does come across as a hero, and we haven't seen another hero. And Betty, I feel, has always suffered more, and Veronica has the comfort of her riches, which never seem to end. And Mr. Lodge seems to be forever, growing. But I feel that that you can't escape those things. These are realities that we can no longer hide. These are
But death is something that never usually used to come up in an Archie comic. I mean, you would have maybe an injury with somebody lying around with a cast or something, but there was never death. The subject of death coming into a comic book that is read by a younger kind of an audience. So from an escape that it used to be, I mean, it was for our generation also, the module of escape where we would just sit and read and sort of imagine ourselves or our lives in that context, think of ourselves as Archie or Betty or Veronica, whoever and however we are in life. But that escape, is it over? Is this the kind of realism? Does it end the escape or the, I mean, you know what I mean.
I do think it's over because I'm no longer 13 years old, first of all.
No, but for a 13-year-old, from a 13-year-old's perspective,
I think actually, as Gerard said, I think it's run its course. The storyline needs to change a little bit because it's quintessentially one guy choosing between two women. I don't think it's a moral conundrum anymore.
At the same time, you know, you've seen them do. This is just one series which are coming to an end, and perhaps. And you know, they've explored many things. I remember when I used to read Archie comics, there was an Archie 2030, which is not very far away now, which was about them in a very Jetsons kind of an era with very long hair, which looked like the 80s now.
I would be happier if the characters develop their own series, like a spin-off. Like I would be happy to do
But
what
they all
Dilton.
did that. I mean,
No, I would be happy to see what Dilton does because Dilton is such a Bill Gates character.
Yes.
Veronica is like a Kim Kardashian or whatever. Betty is like perhaps like a
the American sweetheart.
like
American
a Reese
Sweetheart,
Witherspoon,
absolutely.
Reese Witherspoon sort of character. I would be interested to see the
A movie?
characters.
I think they're in talks with it.
I
but
think
you know,
a movie's in
but
the
they are
pipeline.
apparently doing a spin-off on Kevin Keller, the gay senator who
Who
Archie
got
takes a
shot.
bullet for. You know, so about his life. Apparently, he was an army veteran. You know, he's a very, you know, he supports the army, but he's, you know, he's also, you know, he's gay. He's, you know, he wants to. You know, he's pushing for gun control because his own lover, his husband, I
His
think,
husband, yes.
died over an armed robbery, which is a very American scenario today, you know, especially in suburban American scenario. So, you know, and so it is interesting to see a separate series on a character which we know comes
I
from this
think we
baggage.
need a movie. I think we need a movie with the grown-up characters. The life in Archie's characters.
I don't know how
Really.
good-looking Archie would be. on
the movie.
Well, he's not supposed to be good-looking. He's just charming. Reggie is good-looking.
Yeah. but-
Archie is not exactly.
No, but would he then be able to
Well, Shia
transform as a
LaBeouf could play. Shia
As
LaBeouf,
long
I think,
as long
completely-
as Shah Rukh Khan does not play Archie, we'll be fine.
All right, so final questions. Kritika, what would you next want Archie to do? I mean, so he's going to die and take a bullet in this one, but the series would obviously continue. So any kind of adventure that you would want to put Archie in?
I think the best one would be watching it as a cartoon and not reading it, because I've been watching Tom and Jerry and all, and they've been doing really well. So why not Archie's then?
Right. So I mean, there was a series late in the 60s or 70s where they used to have the band, and I remember watching that series as a cartoon film. But
Josie and the Pussycats.
no, the Josie and the Pussycats was separately.
Sabrina the Teenage Witch was
They used to come
full-on
accompany.
TV
Yeah,
series.
All right, Manal, what about you? What would next adventure would you like to set Archie off on?
I would love to see him as a zombie.
Zombie.
But
I think you're very twisted. I completely agree. We should see him as a zombie. But you have to tell us whether it's a zombie killer or a zombie, because you know that would change the dynamic.
I think a zombie, yeah, because he's just been too much of a do-gooder, and now I think I would like to see a little bit of him eating other people, or you know.
Eating other
Being a
people.
zombie.
You're very dark.
All right. What about you guys? I mean, what kind of adventure would you like to set
I'd
Archie
like
off
to put
on?
all of them in a reality TV show. They should all be in like a Big Boss kind of a setup. All of them together, and then all the claws come out. And I don't actually think Archie is such a hero. I think he's a pretty like selfish character. But it would be interesting to see them in a reality TV setup, I think.
Jaraj?
I think I would just, take off from where you left off last place, where, but seeing the ultimate reality of who they become.
Who they become, yes.
And, as you said, Veronica is Kim Kardashian,
Yeah.
and, the sort of the afterlife, not death and, afterlife, but, like a middle-age crisis. And see how, whether true friendship actually stays
Yes.
post, pop
Absolutely.
dates, cafes, and, cheeseburgers and
And
milkshakes.
milkshakes.
And,
Yeah.
that's what I'd say.
All right, so whether true friendship lasts, I mean, with Archie's, we've seen that friendship does last, and hopefully the comic book lasts for another generation, another 70 years. All the best wishes for Archie's, because, I mean, at a point in time in life, for us. I mean, Archie was quite important.
Archie's Gallery.
Oh yeah, Archie's
Literally.
Gallery. Yeah,
Archie's
yeah.
Gallery was the only spin-off from there.
Yeah, so and I'm sure the Archie comics never saw a bit of revenue from there, but that's the truth about India. On that note, we'll wrap up. Thanks very much, Neha and Jarraj, for coming, and thanks so much, Kritika and Manal, for joining in. So that was a little presentation on Archie comics and the fact that Archie is going to be taking a bullet for a friend. What do you think about it? Write into us, use social media to get in touch with us, and tell us, and we'll of course put your views out there. Thanks so much for watching.